Alright, this is my new Apollo DBX18 125cc dirt bike. 4-speed manual clutch. I'm sure any of you watching this video would already know all that junk. I obviously didn't do a video on putting it together. That's out there as well. I just kind of want to talk about, I've had it for roughly a week now. Some of the things that I've done to it. When I first got it running, it ran like complete junk. So the first thing I did within the first like 3 days was replace the carburetor. Here's the old one. Does have that brass plug there, so you can adjust the airflow. I've seen videos where you can pick that out of there and adjust it, and these are also riveted fucking sticker in the way. They're riveted shut. It's not really a rivet, it's a screw with like no head to grab onto it. It's really weird. This thing's junk. When I pulled the slide out, the needle wasn't even in it. This is how I pulled it out of the dirt bike, just like that. No needle in there. And it didn't come out of the carburetor either. I don't know where the hell the needle went. So that's probably obviously why this thing was running like junk. So I bought one of the Amazon Mikuni knockoffs and plopped it on there, and it did run pretty good. One of the other things that I did to it, I took this cap off here. When you take that cap off, this little thing comes out of it. It's got a screen on there. That's down in the muffler, bolted in there, and that's all there is. Basically, that muffler is almost like a straight pipe, and it's pretty loud, which is like it, and it does sound pretty good. But I'm in a neighborhood where I don't want to aggravate anybody, and if my stuff's not super loud, nobody's gonna really care if I'm riding it around on the road. So naturally, I made it quieter. And the thing that I did here was I found this little thing in the lawnmower parts section at a Tractor Supply. I think the thing was like $5. And I actually bought it originally for an exhaust for that. I was gonna put a silencer on that, and I did, and it worked. But I remembered that was there, and I peeled that off, and that thing slid right into the hole that's in the muffler perfectly. And I will put a little picture in like a picture of the part from Tractor Supply that I used to do that. And I just like slid it in that hole and put 3 little tack welds on there to hold it in. And much quieter, but still sounds pretty good. So because I basically put my own silencer on this muffler, I knew I was going to have to retune that carburetor anyways. So some people had better luck putting their carburetor on there and having it run a little bit better than I did. And I think that's because of the silencer that I put on there myself. So I did have to mess with the air fuel screw in there, and I also raised the needle up in the slide, I believe 2 notches, I think it was, that I had to do to get the needle does 1/4 to 3/4 throttle. So if you're bogging, you might need to adjust that needle. I did that, and between the needle and the air fuel that I got going on there now, it feels actually like a real dirt bike. It doesn't run so junky. The air filter does touch the pipe there a little bit, and I haven't really ridden it long enough for that to matter yet. But I was thinking about maybe putting a hose clamp around here to squeeze it away from that pipe, but we'll see how that goes. I watched a few YouTube videos on how they were assembled, and almost everybody had a brake lever that they had to pull out from underneath the engine, and that's how mine looked. but it had this extra little piece here that I had to bolt on. That's kind of funky, but I liked that this feels beefy, and I didn't have to bend it, so that was pretty sweet. And on mine, I didn't have to install the kickstart, but I did have to do the shifter on the other side, which isn't that big of a deal. One other thing that I did that I didn't really see a whole lot about was I adjusted this rear shock a little bit. Mine is adjustable. I'm not sure if everybody else's is or whatever, but yeah, that ring turns. There is a locking Allen head in one of these holes, so if you're gonna take this thing out and try to adjust it, be aware of that. You don't want to mar your threads up on that thing, so find that Allen wrench and undo that before you try to do the ring. And then on the other side of the top of this thing, there's what looks like a little tire valve stem where they filled the shock with the nitrogen gas. I'm not sure if I installed the thing backwards or not, but whatever. Anyways, I just took the cap off of that and gave it one little psst, just one psst. That's it. Psst. Don't let all the gas out. And then I turned that ring out a whole bunch, just a bunch, basically until the spring was almost like not like touching the ring, and then I like tightened it back down onto it, gave it a couple of turns, squeezing that spring again, and put it back in. And this thing actually moves now when you sit on it. All right, so you check this out. After I adjusted that rear shock, it actually like moves. Before it didn't move, and I live on a dirt road with a lot of potholes on it, and that's pretty rough on the old back. Got a little real quick. Only rode it once before I figured out how to adjust that rear shock, and it's not very hard. I just took it right out, put it up on my custom dirt bike stand over there, and took the shock right out of it and did all my adjustments with a vise and all that, and then plopped it back in there, and it was much better. If you're a heavier guy, I'm about 180 pounds. You might not want to undo the ring as much as I did, but I wanted to have some movement there. One other thing that I wanted to maybe show you guys was, I'm pretty sure this here is a little switch for your brakes. Like if you wanted to install brake lights on this thing, that's a little button there. And I think these leads would do your brake light. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, because I was actually going to install a kit. I saw somebody put on one of these that has a little battery pack and a headlight and some blinkers and stuff like that, so that you maybe could register it on the road, and I was thinking about doing that. And that might make life a lot easier. And then there's also in that kit, there's a pressure switch for the rear. So if you use the rear, your brake light would still go off too. So far, I've been pretty excited to have this thing. And I'm gonna wrap it up inside here. The weather outside is pretty crappy today. So when it's nicer out, I'm gonna start it up